DevReady podcast, it's named DevReady podcast because we're just trying to be consistent and on brand with DevReady. But the whole point of DevReady, as mentioned, is to help non-technical people get more clarity on their product. We were toying around with the idea of how do we create a podcast for our business so we can create content and help people. I didn't want to make a podcast talking to the developers because I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we don't want to serve developers, no.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do one talking about coding, and we couldn't come up with a better idea. We had one first idea, which was digital transformation insights.
Is that what we had? I can't even remember that now. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I still see it in my Spotify podcast manager. That was trying to talk to corporates and understanding what process they're going through for the digital transformation. But then in 1 week, Andrew had 5 phone calls from different client or startups that we hadn't worked with before. All that were, I think it was collectively $1.4 million was lost on rebuilding products over and over, and all of them had nothing to show for it. So the first person that we got on the podcast was Judy Selmans. We thought, all right, these are the stories we need to share. So by getting her on the podcast, we recorded an episode, and it was October 2019, the first one.
Yeah.
And then it was released, I think, in December or January. We're a bit slack.
We didn't know what we were doing at that time. It was how do you edit this thing? What do you do? I think I listened to it 85 times.
She had lost $400,000 on building the same platform 3 different times.
Not good.
And then they had finally gone on to a proper team that decided to take the time to build the right thing for them and ask the right questions. And then it's evolved into talking to just startups and sharing those stories so then other startups can try to get a step ahead, to getting experts involved and just getting some thoughts and opinions on what do you do in your job and how do you advise your clients. So we can share that information with other startups and hopefully they can all just get ahead. The biggest thing I think we've learned probably along this whole journey is everyone I've spoken to, and I think you have too, is they all think they're the only person who've ever gone through that problem.
Every one of them, yeah.
And they're unique. They're that special snowflake that has never happened to anyone else before. But it's the same problem.
Yeah, tech, it's a high-risk industry. Like you're jumping into any business, it's 90% chance of failure if you go into any business, let alone business with technology behind it. So your chance of product failure is that 80, 90% as well. So if you put those two together, your likelihood of succeeding a success in a technical startup is around that 95% chance of failure, 5% chance of success. It's a tough industry. And if you're non-technical, it's even tougher and becomes harder. So it's about getting that right advice early. That's why we started the podcast. It was a bit eye-opening that I think that I asked myself, if I've got 5 people, it's a space of 2 weeks, coming to me in 2 weeks, they spend that much money, how many of them are there out there? We were a little company sitting in Melbourne. At the time, there was probably 10, 12 of us, give or take, in the business. And I said to Anthony, I go, sure, there must be hundreds, if not thousands of people like this. In Australia, globally, how many could there be? And we've interviewed mostly people from Australia. That's 150 people. Half of those are founders. A lot of them have been through those challenges, and it's just sharing why and sharing our journey as well helps people. What's worked, what hasn't, what works in our business. Well, not to say we're perfect, but we know that we can deliver good outcomes as a business. But that's off the back of 16 years of doing this. If you came to us 16 years ago, it would have been a hard slog to get a good outcome, as in on time, on budget, and the right solution. Now we know that we've got structures in place to get you there. So, yeah, that's a little bit about the podcast and why it exists.